Hi, I'm Chief Hobley-Burney with the Fort Pierce Police Department, and it is a sad state of affairs that I'm before you today. Two officers from the Fort Pierce Police Department have been arrested following the completion of a Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FDLE, investigation stemming from an incident at Lawnwood Regional Medical Center. On February 20th of this year, Fort Pierce Police and St. Lucie Fire Rescue responded to the 5200 block of Okeechobee in reference to an unconscious man. Upon arrival, they found the subject to be intoxicated and combative. Officer transported the man to Lawnwood Regional Medical Center for evaluation. At the hospital, he continued his combative behavior. He made threats, racial slurs towards officers and hospital staff, particularly at Officer Monica Frederick, an African American. Officer Albert Eckroyd instructed the man to stop this disruptive behavior. When this did not occur, he slapped and punched the unhandcuffed man, causing a laceration to his upper lip that required sutures. Eckroyd's actions warranted the FPPD to immediately request for an outside investigation by FDLE and relieve him of duty. What we want to do now is show you the video from the hospital. There is no sound to the tape.
Where are they? Can you
They're in the mental health area.
I'm talking about over there. Where's the guy? Is that some lady?
Yeah, that's him in the chair. Is this the long version? The investigation by FDLE determined that Eckroad actions was a violation of law. He was arrested for felony battery, official misconduct, and false report of commission of a crime. Frederick, who witnessed the use of force and then falsified her written report about the incident, was also charged with filing a false police report. Both officers were facing termination. On today's date, January 5th, Eckroad resigned from being an officer of the Fort Pierce Police Department. Presently, Officer Frederick is on leave without pay pending her request for a pre-disciplinary hearing, which is part of the Officer's Bill of Rights. So that we're perfectly clear here, this was not a use of force situation. This was a criminal act. This type of behavior will not be tolerated at any given point. The actions of Eckroad and Frederick by no means are reflective of the officers of the Fort Pierce Police Department. We honor our mission, and that is to serve our public with honor. Unfortunately, in this situation, our badge was tarnished. The respect and the hope from our citizens were tarnished by this. But I want the public to understand that we addressed this immediately. We took immediate action because we want them to know everyone will be treated with dignity and respect. This is what we stand by. Things that you saw on the video is not tolerated, and we will not allow anyone that wears the badge of this department to do such actions to any citizen that comes to this great city. We must hold ourselves accountable. We must take responsibility of our actions. Eckroad was a 31-year-old individual. He was a K-9 handler for the police department. He had been with us for 4 years. Frederick was 27, and she was in our community patrol for 1 year. A third officer was also present, but during the incident, he did not participate in the battery or in the falsification of the report. But he will be a part of our internal investigation, which is in the process right now. I just want you to please understand, we have so many individuals is trying to dilute this situation to something that it is not. This was not a use of force. It was not. It was a criminal act. And please, the only thing that we're asking, that you report the facts and don't allow others to use the situations and the temperature that is happening in the public to taint anything concerning what is going on. Our city is beautiful. We respect everyone's right to protest. We respect that. But we want everything to be peaceful. We want everyone to have a voice. But we also want you, as the media, to please give us a fair reporting when it comes to this. I thank you, and I'll open up to any questions you may have.
Is the surveillance video the only available video, or is there also body camera video?
At present, there is no body-worn camera because that was in the mental health part, and the officers normally don't have their cameras on in that area. But the video in which you saw, you will be able to get a copy of that video.
Did they keep their body cameras on their bodies but turn off? Or did they actually remove the body cameras from them?
Now, the body cameras are on. They wear them all the time because what occurs if an action is taken in the hospital that is warranted, that they are supposed to turn those body-worn cameras on, and that part there is also a part of our internal affairs investigation.
So you are investigating whether their cameras should have been turned on at that moment when this escalated?
Yes, absolutely.
At what point, when you saw the video, when was Officer Eckroad put on paid administrative leave, and when was Officer Frederick put on paid leave?
Eckroad was put on paid administrative leave on February 20th. When it came to Officer Frederick, it was on March 30th. And the reason for that was We wasn't for sure at that time whether she was a witness, subject, or what the situation was. Once we got a clear definition of what things were, she was relieved of duty at that time as well.
I have a couple of questions. So Officer Eckroad is white. Was the person that he struck, is that a black individual or white?
It was a white individual.
So this was not a racial thing then?
No, it was not racial involved at all.
How many times did he hit it? It looked like 8 or 9. He was happening pretty quickly, so I counted it. Was it 8 or 9?
And I'll be quite honest with you, to give you the exact number, I don't have that, but there was a number of slaps and punches.
And you said there was a third officer there. Is that person going to face any charges or disciplinary?
He was a part of the criminal investigation. It was determined that no criminal charges will be held against him at this point. However, he is a part of our internal affairs investigation.
And Chief, one question, you said that she falsified her report. What did she say she's supposed to say?
I'm sorry?
That she falsified, she filed a false report, so what did she say? What was false about the report?
That's a part of our internal affairs investigation, but we have evidence that the report was falsified.
Was there anyone else, I don't know if you can comment, was there anyone, hospital staff, not law enforcement, but hospital staff, also disciplined in any way as part of this investigation? I don't know if there was any security guards that were terminated or given any kind of discipline.
Well, with that part, that's up to Lawnwood to provide that information. I'm gonna be honest with you, I do not have that.
And then the decision to allow Officer Edwards to resign rather than being terminated, what plays into that decision?
Any officer can resign at any given point. He was fully aware that termination, as well as Officer Frederick, is assured that termination is a part of the disciplinary process. And as for her, she has asked for a predetermination hearing, and that's a mandate by the Officer Bill of Rights. She's asked for that, and we will allow her to do that before we take any final decision when it comes to discipline. And with him, once he saw the charges and such, because he was presented the charges and everything in the presence of his attorney, he made the decision to resign.
Is he going to be decertified?
That's up to the Commission of Law Enforcement to do that, but on our end, we will be providing that information to them to make that determination.
You provided to who?
The Commission of Law Enforcement. They are the ones that give us our accreditation to be officers.
Was Eckroad, is he considered a decent officer? Did he have a past history of other disciplinary situations here in your department?
We pulled his internal affairs record, and behaviors that you saw was not there. We did not see that.
Was he ever under investigation by IA for anything in the past?
Not for this, no. We had no records of that.
Was he also, like, I believe I saw he may have been named Officer of the Month or Officer of the Quarter or something, is that right?
Yes, he was a very good officer, honestly. He was a K-9 officer. It takes a lot for us to select someone as our K-9 officer. And this is just a regrettable situation. I would say that, an absolute regrettable situation. But, and I'm not making excuses. Sometimes we are human too. And I think what was happening with him, it's possible that what was being said, he wanted him to stop, and he did not, and it involved him taking those actions. But we are held at a greater standard than anyone. So when situations like that, the expectation of the officer is not to engage, that they need to just stop or take themselves out of it and allow someone else to do. And we are training our officers in doing just that.
Are you going to train them differently, or are you going to change the training the officers get in light of what happened here with this guy?
Well, let me say this. Our officers were trained by the Department of Justice. Our officers have been trained by many wonderful and experts, and when it comes to de-escalation and things like that. But as you can see, even though the training was there, sometimes it just didn't happen. But so we rely upon other officers then to act or stop or intervene, and that did not happen either. And so I'm saddened by that. We believe that if things are happening, that if the officer, regardless, if they are wrong, then I expect other officers to intervene and not allow it to occur.
So did you say you are going to change the training that officers receive or not?
We have been trained in all those areas. We have a refresher every year. We have a refresher, and that's going to take place. And as an example, we believe in training our officers with every situation because we want them to be the best at what they do. Although this video doesn't show that, we expect that. And even with the George Floyd situation, we made a training concerning that. We made a training, and every person of this department went through this training because we wanted them to see what occurred, but also to assure that a situation like that does not happen here. It's very important. We owe it to our public. We owe it to our businesses that come here. We owe it to everyone, and we believe in that.
So I still would like to ask again, are you going to change training that new officers receive or that current officers receive because of what happened?
Everything, it can be enhanced. And if we see things that can make us better, surely, I'm more than willing to do that.
Also, you called this a sad state of affairs at the very beginning of this press conference. What do you mean?
I mean that my expectations of the officers of the Fort Pierce Department is of excellence. This is my expectation. I expect them to go out and do their job and do it in an efficient way and with dignity and respect regardless of the situation. When I say it's sad, because these officers didn't meet that standard. And this is why we take things like this so seriously.
And was Eckroad Officer of the Month or Officer of the Quarter here in your department?
I'm pretty sure he was, yes.
Which of those was it?
It had to be an Officer of the Month, but we can get that information for you.
What's the status of his K-9?
The K-9 has been reassigned.
And then, do you know, can you say any update about the victim right now, what his condition is?
That part I don't know.
Was Mr. Abbott ever apologetic?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I have not had contact with him because I am the final decision maker, and I don't want anyone to say I enhanced or had a part in things. So I have not made contact with him regarding this, but I was told that he had been very apologetic to the situation.
One more question, then the chief has to go.
Chief, question with the atmosphere that we're in right now with the protests, the George Floyd incident, what message do you have for the public here at Fort Pierce after they hear this news?
My message is, this was a regrettable situation, but we have made so many strides with our public, with our citizens. It's about building relationships. It's about community engagement. It is about us working together to make Fort Pierce the beautiful city it is and the great city that it is. And I just want them to don't lose their trust in us. Continue to believe in us. This was an incident that I am saddened to talk about, but it happened. But I assure you, we are making those steps, we're making those strides that it does not reoccur. Some things we just cannot avoid.